In this video, we're going to be talking about point-slope form. Now, I've gone ahead and just written out 3 of the forms for writing the equation of a line. We have slope-intercept, standard, and point-slope. Now, these 2 we're going to get to on a later date. Today's video is all about point-slope form. Before we jump in any more, let's talk about some of the similarities and differences between these forms. So the first similarity, something that every form has no matter what, is they all have an x and they all have a y. This is because anytime you write an equation of a line, you have to have space in that equation for inputs and outputs. So that's what the x and the y represent. They are placeholders for us to plug numbers in, and then the y is a placeholder for us to get outputs out. So it's very important when you're writing the equation of a line that your final answer, the equation, has that x and y in the equation. If you just fill in everything with numbers, you're doing something wrong. The other thing that we'll notice is that some of these equations have the slope in there as well, and that includes our equation for today. So let's keep on rolling with just some basic information. So this is what our point-slope form looks like. And as you can see, we just said there's the y and the x, but then there's space for us to plug in an x1 and a y1, and space to plug in the m. So the x1 and y1, let's color code. The x1 and y1 are the point on the line, and then the slope of the line is that m. Everything else that you see here that's not highlighted is a part of the form that's just always going to be in your answer. You're always going to have that y, that minus sign, the equals, this group of parentheses, and the x minus. So all of that is just a fixed part of the form that you're always going to have as your answer. So let's start by looking at some examples of equations that are already in point-slope form. So again, I'm going to highlight that information that got plugged into the form. We have this 3, the 1/2, and the 4. So remember what I just said, how those minus signs are just a normal part of the form. So when we're looking at what the point is going to be 4, 3. So notice, even though the 4 has a minus in front of it in the equation, in the point, it's actually positive. And the same thing is true for the 3. There's a minus in front of it in the equation, but in the point, it's positive 3. The other thing you'll notice is that they're switched. The 3 comes first in the equation and then the 4, but in the point, the 4 is the x value and the 3 is the y value. So one way that you can remember that it's a little bit backwards is that the x's go together and the y's go together. So 3 has to be the y value and 4 has to be the x value because the 3 is next to the y and the 4 is next to the x. All right, and then to finish this out, we've got slope, and we know slope is this middle number, so our slope is 1/2. So another thing that you want to notice about this form is that the x's are always inside the parentheses, and your slope is always in front of the parentheses. So that's a really easy way for you to identify slope in point-slope form. It's the number that's always in front of that group of parentheses. So let's try another example here. So we have this equation. Again, I'll highlight the things that got plugged into the form. So let's start with the point. In this equation, our point is -8, -5. So again, I'm starting with the x value, which is next to the x, and then I'm writing the y value, which is next to the y. Let's get rid of that. There we go. And again, it's positive in the equation, but then in the point, it changes signs. So the +8 in the equation became a -8 in the point. Same thing, the +5 became a -5 in the point. And finally, our slope is the number in front of that group of parentheses, so our slope is negative 2. So let's do one more example here. We have, again, we'll highlight 1, 5, 2. So now you'll see I've got a minus and a plus here. So I'm trying to test your understanding of that change of signs. So first off, the x's are grouped together, so we know that this 2 is an x value of our point. Now the question is it positive or negative? Well, we know that it changes sign. So if it's positive in the equation, then it's going to be negative in the point. Same thing with the minus 1 here. So that's our y value. And if it's negative in the equation, that means it'll be positive in the point. And last, we have our slope, which is in front of those parentheses. So our slope is 5. So let's do one more quick example, and then we'll be on our way. So a line has a slope of 1/2 and passes through the point 3, -8. Write its equation in point slope form. So again, we're plugging in 3 different values here. So let's just start by rewriting everything that's going to stay put in the form. So we know we're going to have y minus, and then we're going to have something that we're filling in. Then we're going to have the equal sign, and then comes the slope. Then we have that group of parentheses with the x minus in it, and our third thing that we're plugging in. So now it's just a matter of putting the right numbers in the right places. So here's our point, 3, -8. So this means that 3 is our x1 and -8 is our y1. So let's see, x1 is at the end of the equation, so that 3 is going to go at the end. And y1 is next to the y in the equation, so that -8 is going to go over here. Now notice there's that minus sign, which is from the form, and then the negative that goes along with the 8. And then last, we know that the slope goes in front of these parentheses, so our slope goes here in the middle. All right, our last step is just to simplify all of this. This y minus -8 can be simplified to y plus 8 equals 1/2 times x minus 3. And this is our answer. Notice that we're not distributing this out. We don't, the form just always has that slope in front of a group of parentheses. So you don't want to distribute it, you want to just leave it the way it is.